Nick McBride is the member for McKillop, re-elected again. Congratulations, Nick. A pretty thumping win for you.
Oh, look, thank you, Ricky. It was a good sound win in a tide that was definitely against the Liberal vote right across the state. I think now that McKillop looks like it's one of the safest seats for Liberals in the state now. The two-party preferred vote went down by about 3%, and my first preference votes went up by about 5 or 6%. So it was a really good, strong result. However, it was definitely overshadowed on the night by this landslide of defeat by the Liberals after being won in one term, and that certainly took away any sort of sense of euphoria for my result, Ricky.
Well, being one of the safer seats, can I clarify just what your aspirations are regarding the shadow ministry or even the leadership of the Liberal Party post-election?
So first of all, my aspirations from beyond this, it wouldn't matter whether I was the safest seat or I'd only just won by one vote. What I have done is thrown my hand in and have done and will do into the ring for the leadership of the Liberal opposition. And the reason for this, Ricky, is that I want to advocate and ask that our party rebuilds from the ground up and make sure that we actually do this well by capturing what I think everything we lost at this last election. I think that to be complacent, to just say it was a tide of disgruntlement and alike and not really address it would be a massive, massive oversight. And I'm hoping that whoever does take the leadership, and if I'm lucky enough it's myself, does recognise the enormity of how disappointing this result was, and the fact that we should be in government for at least a second term and looking for our third term if, after being 16 years in the wilderness. And so I'm hoping that whoever does take the reins of our party has that sort of foresight, understanding, and gives some sort of commitment to rebuilding the party from where we landed on Saturday night, Ricky.
Well, your seat overlaps that of Tony Passon, the member for Barker federally. He's called for a review of the party's handling of membership, particularly towards Christian people in the party, and indeed the conduct of the state election. Do you agree with that's what needed, a Brian Loughnane or someone coming in to review how the party worked?
I certainly would appreciate a massive, thorough review. I wouldn't pinpoint a lobby group or a section of our society not being allowed into the membership as though it's the only thing we need to solve and suddenly we've been a better party for it. I think that a review should look at every aspect of the way that the party considers itself, represents its cohort, and I think that one of the things that I think really did stand out about this election result and what the last, let's perhaps say 6 months, but in particular the last 3 months, was that I think our core foundation members, small business, conservative voters, deserted us in droves in frustration. And I think that's because we are not well connected to those that cohort of our South Australian society, and they're the sort of bridges that we need to repair, make sure that they are brought back into the fold and recognise they were missing in the first place.
Well, I spoke just earlier with Fraser Ellis, who's now an independent MP. He left the Liberal Party, but you sort of threatened or made noises you might do that at one stage, and it was about, I think from memory, just how country MPs were being handled. Is that part of sort of where you want to go if you're secure the leadership or improvements to leadership in the party is a better say for the country MPs who, have held on to more of their seats than the city ones have?
So, Ricky, that's a really important point. One is that, some people would say, but I've been disillusioned and frustrated by the behaviour of my party since probably being in politics. And I think this actually puts me in the box seat for the membership, the Liberal Party MPs, the party itself in Adelaide, to consider my name being put forward as a potential leader, because I have recognised that we've done this really badly. I think that there were massive issues in the way that our party was conducting itself, communicating amongst ourselves, looking out for our broader base membership and alike. And I've seen that from very early days in this process of being an MP since 2018. And I hope that that's how the way that I have been perhaps divisive in some of my actions for the Marshall Liberal government. It would have caused them some angst and concern and frustrations. But these were frustrations that I think has absolutely panned out on this March election result on the 19th just gone. The people of South Australia have actually just fallen in behind my frustrations about the type of leadership that we were actually presenting to them at this election after 4 years in only 4 years in government. So that's why I'm hoping that this review, the fact that we're going to look for a new leader, that it all amounts to change. A change that's in the right direction for the right reasons, Ricky.
Well, I guess an opportunity for leadership is to get some federal funds directed towards your electorate with the federal budget coming up. It's going to be hard work for you getting funds potentially out of a Labor state government, even though there's some commitments on health that you liked from the SA Labor Party. With the federal budget coming up, the RAA is calling for funds to go to a duplication of the Dukes Highway to the border and even federal funds for overtaking lanes on the Riddoch Highway. You'd support those calls, I imagine?
Oh, look, I do, but there's a small but, and that is just to make sure that we're going to spend these millions and perhaps even billions of dollars on road infrastructure. It's actually spent in the right places and in the right timeliness too, Ricky. I mean, one of the things I thought was really sad about our proposition way back when we came to government was the potential for the GlobeLink type proposal, and why that's been wiped off the face of the earth, and why aren't we considering a heavy transport link into Adelaide through the Northern Stewart Highway entrance into Adelaide through Truro and the like. Look, it should be on the cards. And look, if the monies need to be put into those sorts of areas to protect the Southeastern Freeway, to get that heavy transport off the Southeastern Freeway through peak hour traffic and the like, because there is an alternative, bypass there for heavy transport. These are all the things I would like to see on the table, given due consideration. And I say that due consideration because I'm fearful that it wasn't, that GlobeLink proposal and the road link in particular wasn't given the consideration it should have. And there's certainly, don't get me wrong, the Riddoch Highway could do with more overtaking lanes in McKillop right down to Mount Gambier. Yes, the Dukes Highway could do with duplication of a double freeway out of Taylor Bend, at least through to the race park and beyond. The timeliness of that, Ricky, it's all of those in the know about where these monies should be better utilised. And where the best return for our transport network should be spent. I mean, the Mallee Highway is an absolute abominable highway out of Taylor Bend heading towards Pinaroo, Lameroo and going on towards Sydney. Why is it one of the worst, highways we've got that's, in its current state with heavy transport going into New South Wales? Beggars belief. But I'd say that actual highway deserves consideration, perhaps before we do too much more with the Dukes Highway. And that road now falls and sits in McKillop. So look, all these things need to be put on the table. I'm looking forward to any extra funds from a federal budget towards this sort of infrastructure because I know it's needed in our regions, Ricky.
Well, Nick, plenty of work for the seat of McKillop and plenty of work for yourself and the Liberal Party. I'll let you get back to it. Thanks for joining us today on Flow.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Ricky.